Like the potential to sort of create whatever reality you imagine, and when you can imagine so many different realities, how do you know which is the one to go with?
The right one.
Yeah. Like you can move anywhere. You can change your gender.
What's your journey with that, Mom?
Oh, wow. I'm very selective of who I tell that my child is gay. Because some people are closed-minded. And no matter how much you try to get them to be open-minded, they're not going to accept it.
If you misgender someone, apologize, correct yourself, and move on. Practice at home. If someone corrects you, try to remember next time.
Want to disengage from the conversation, so they ignore it completely or use a shortened version of the name to try to avoid it and sound otherwise. But it's all part of one's identity. One's name is their identity and how they present. So it's really easy to just call someone by their name.
What are we gonna do about it? Especially when Black cis men are more visible. And Trans Lives Matter doesn't even have as much of a following or a big of a media coverage.
And especially when our groups aren't being facilitated properly. This is supposed to be the space we can speak about these kinds of things. That was really inappropriate.
I thought I was an alien. I thought I was the only one in 1986. I knew about Christine Jorgensen because I was born in 1950 and I saw her in the news when she made national awareness in history.
Choice, but I think it's so much more impactful and helpful to young trans women who might also want to be seen on the screen too.
Yeah,
right?
For representation.
Yeah.
The problems our communities face with gun violence are a result of race and class-based structural inequalities, not moral failing. A lot of gun violence springs from people in poverty filtering into the drug economy in pursuit of a middle-class standard of living.
And we just started talking about James, and I was so comfortable talking about him. It's as if I'd known her for forever, for years. And she was comfortable asking me questions about James. And we were sitting just like this on the sofa. And I just enjoyed it. I just loved her from the beginning.
Peace Project is about promoting peace and reconciliation and gun violence prevention through the performing and visual arts and Afrocentric literacy.
Whose death will it take before we finally say enough? Whose child must be sacrificed before we can agree that was the last death?
It was definitely traumatizing, but it was just definitely, it really opened my eyes to some things, to how people act. I mean, people, how friends will really, how certain people will really turn their back on you whenever you give your trust to somebody and it's not there.
My mom didn't have a lot of money, so I never had all the things that all the other kids had. And I was I left behind her, trying to catch up. It was very hard, just trying to survive.
When I walked up and he was being harassed, and then we just rectified it, and so now we have a great friendship. Well, when they started, they didn't want us here, and then once we got it up, they loved it. It was a great reaction. Everybody thought it was very positive.
The problems our communities face with gun violence are a result of race and class-based structural inequalities, not moral failing. A lot of gun violence springs from people in poverty filtering into the drug economy in pursuit of a middle-class standard of living.
In a
we saw everything that unfolded, right, with George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and Ahmaud Arbery, and knowing that these names add to this infinite list of people that we should not have lost through state-sponsored violence, we saw that as a clear opportunity, especially with how folks are being so rapidly politicized in this moment.
Breonna Taylor, quite similar to the good brother Botham Jean out of Texas. She was murdered in her own home while in her house, in the comfort in your safe place. Up to this date, laws have been passed in her name, but the 3 murderers who served in the law enforcement department there in St. Louis, Kentucky, they are still being paid.
The life out of folk, and so are the cops. And so how do we, use this opportunity to further organize, to deeply mobilize, and I mean deep and intentional.
No matter how far I made it, if all they see is this black, magnificent, obsessed with my pigment, messes deeper than the pig. I pray I'm making a difference, amen.
Make them understand that we here. Are we speaking loud enough?
Performing with everyone it's an interesting experience because, when you're like a shy person, it's weird at first to have a lot of people watching what you're doing, but by the time you get out there, it's sort of muscle memory. You're used to it, and you're able to just turn it on.
I think that Tigers Are Not Afraid is as much about the magic of youth as it is about growing up too fast, because the world is violent and broken, and you have to you got to get up or it's going to get you.
And they had just so much energy.
I think it was really awesome. It was the dancing. Yes, the breakdancing was the greatest part.
The exhibit here at Asian Arts Urban Convergence, I have to say it's very beautiful. The art jumps out at you.
Yeah, I can rhyme sometimes. Check it. At age 14, she wakes up, drowns her face in makeup, only to shape up her looks. But that's a whole nother story. See, I can dance with my thighs and my hips, and my lips are full, and I speak Ebonics too, yo.
但现在我已经熟悉了这里的生活和环境，也慢慢学会接受这里的语言。虽然有时候会在说英文上会有一些问题，但是一想到你们，我亲爱的朋友和亲人，我仿佛感觉到你们也在默默地支持着我。
You can call me Harry.
Oh, Harry. Harry?
Yeah, that's my nickname.
Oh, did someone make fun of you as a kid or something?
No, it's just what my friends called me.
So, how did you two meet?
Oh, my mom knows her mom for like a really long time.
Ultimately is going to become this tragedy for our community start to take shape in these large developments, the Vine Street Expressway, which took a bunch of housing, so it would be easier for suburbanites to commute in, like the gallery, this downtown mall, so that people had a place to shop.
So you can see it as I was going through the same thing that you're going through. Because I grew up in a different country. I came here, I experienced some interesting facts that I haven't really experienced before. I'm learning in this whole new environment.
Georgie! Pearl, you've killed Georgie! I've really done it, Pearl. Georgie, are you okay? Georgie. What were you thinking? What's wrong with you? You're so reckless. This car is not a toy.
George's eyes and one of his brother's eyes that blinded both of them. He went to school for the blind in Arkansas, I believe in Little Rock, and learned how to do just about anything a sighted person could do, really. He moved to the Marlow area as a young man.
Do you really think the government or anybody else in America really cares what happens to you people?
No.
It's impossible for a person or a people to fulfill themselves without knowing who they are. Never grew up, never got old, and his legion of lost boys sounded better than an army of lost men. I know what dies inside us is life's biggest sadness, and I had to hold on to myself. It's where dreams and Christmas come from.
And when I was in the industry, I started then to run into students, other faculty members, and I had my own experience around stress, around unresolved childhood trauma, and wellness first started with.
What's important about this exercise for all of us is to know that media comes at us with the same information from different venues, from different avenues. So we all know that if a news anchor woman is really boring, she's going to get booted off at some point. Or if she's reporting on stuff that the guys upstairs saying that their advertisers don't want you to report on that, they don't report on that.
I shall not troll. Trolling is not acceptable. The moment users become deliberately irate on social media, it becomes harmful to others. Trolls leave a lasting impression, causing others to replicate negative online behavior.
Working with young men who, if they had grown up in a different zip code, if their skin was a different color, would have been lauded as visionary entrepreneurs, but instead they're stuck in the justice system. And it is clear that if young people have access to technology, capital, and the ability to do something with it, they're going to build amazing things.